Okay, so now laser guided weapons. As you can see, I have a Rafale here. It's at 10,000 feet, and we are heading for the disused airfield, which I use as a bombing range for target practice. And on the pylons we have, on the two outer pylons here, we have the Armament Air Sol Modulaire, which stands for Modular Air Ground Armament, and it's the Armament Air Sol Modulaire 250, 250 denoting the weight, so it's 250 kilogram bomb, or no, 250 pound bomb. And on the inner pylons we have the GBU 24, and for this I'll be using the lightning pod, but you can change that to the Damocles. Doesn't really make a difference which one you use, because the avionics inside the Rafale in this mod is the Schval from the SU-25. So it's once the bomb is released, there's no trigger for the laser. The laser fires automatically. You've just got to keep it tracked. So you're not really using the targeting pods as such, but they're there just so that it looks like you are using a targeting pod when you're actually using the Schval from the Frogfoot. So instead of talking about it now, we will head over to the disused airfield. I have a row of the S300s, and here I have a load of containers, so we'll use those as a target, and we'll get in the cockpit now. Right, so to drop these laser guided weapons, I'll show you the controls. We are going to need go to sensors. You're going to need to use electro-optical system to bring up the TV screen, or Schval, or as in this case it's supposed to be the Lightning or Damocles pod. We're going to need to use the target designators left, right, up and down, and we're also going to need to use the target lock. I have these calibrated to there's a small stick on the side of my X56 which I use for locking onto targets, and if you have one of these, I would recommend using the TDC slew horizontal axis and vertical axis for that stick, and you will need to invert the vertical, otherwise you'll be going all over the place. But yeah, those are what I use, and for the release of the weapon, obviously we have the weapon fire, which is either the space bar or your trigger, and we will be using launch override for when the arrow gets in between the range brackets, so that we get a launch authorization. So let's get into it. So what we're going to need to do first is to go to press number 7 on the keyboard to bring up the ground air to ground mode. As you can see, we've got the AA SM250 armed. We can change that using the weapon change button, and now I'm using GBU 24s. Now, as I say, press the O to bring up the Schval, and as you'll see, there's a reticule here, and that basically where that points, you'll see on here. If you've used the SU-25, you'll know. Obviously, moving it around, whatever it sees, you will see on the TV screen. So you can zoom in using the plus and minus, which is next to the backspace, which would be handy if we were going for this bridge to bomb, but we're not. We're going for the disused airfield, so we've got that here. And with the GBU-24s, I will lock on to one of the S300s, as you can see. We now have a designation, as we've got a KC. You can't see it's behind the 3000, but by the way, 3000, that shows your altitude. This is your bearing or heading tape. Your artificial horizon with the aircraft datum in, and that's how far you are, 41.8. I believe that's in kilometers, not nautical miles. So yeah, you've got all your information as well as up here, and obviously you've got your compass there, which is added in as part of the mod. So what I'm going to do is come out of active pause, which I'm in at the moment, get the aircraft stable. Oh, before we do, actually, the mod comes with this handy little diagram on telling you how to drop the bombs. So you've got to keep constant altitude. They recommend 9,800, around about 10,000 feet, which is what I'm at. Speed, so it's 466 miles per hour, 750 kilometers an hour, and to be 24 kilometers away. Obviously, that's just the values that they've worked out, but obviously it's an idea to use the actual information that the weapon and the avionics are giving you. So I would go with the range markers that will pop up and release in between those brackets, rather than just going, oh, I'm such and such kilometers away, I'll drop now. I would go with the avionics, but they do give you this to sort of as a loose guide of what to do. So we'll get back into it, come out of active pause. As you can see, I've got my range markers here. As we get a little bit closer, you will see that it will zoom, the range markers will zoom in. So let's get this aircraft trimmed out. As you can see, we're now coming between, getting closer to the drop point. So what I'm going to do now is press the launch override, so we now have a launch authorization. And now we are coming in between the brackets. 1, 2. So both weapons are away. Go to F6. We can follow them down. You can see it's starting to track. There we go. There we go, it's caught the laser, and boom. So there we go, that's GBU-24s. Take launch authorization off, and what we'll do now is we'll swing round and we will launch the AASM 250s onto the containers. Okay, so we're coming up to the containers. Once again, once we're in the range, within the range brackets, I will release the weapons, of which there are 4 of. Okay, and we're coming within the range now. And we have one container locked. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Bit excessive, but no point in me watching keep going back for more and more. Might as well just launch the whole salvo. The GBE-24's packed quite a punch, as you can see there. Oh, there we go. So that's laser guided weapons. I mean, it's pretty much the same for everything. It's just a matter of locking onto your target, launch override to bring out launch authorization. Once the weapon, the weapon bracket, the range bracket is, the arrows in within the range brackets, release the weapons. Make sure you keep lock. Slow your aircraft down if you can. I know it's a dangerous thing if you're going over a target, but that's what's recommended apparently, and then you should hit the target with no problem. So yeah, laser guided weapons. Right, we're going to take a look at suppression of enemy air defences using suppression of enemy air defence, aka SEAD weapons. These are used via the RBE-2, which is the Thales active electronically scanned array radar, which is housed in the nose cone. As that's not actually modelled, or the avionics aren't modded to that spec, it's basically the Phantasmagoria pod, which is used on the Su-25, but that is pretending to be the RBE-2. So if you're going to go for a SEAD mission, you will need to go in and select the RBE-2, and that will now allow you to fire SEAD weapons, of which I have the HARM, the AGM-88C, and also the Scalp, also known as the Storm Shadow in British service, and these work via a radar pinging or nailing you, and then the seeker head will go after that radar signature, and they're fire and forget. So once you've released them, the seeker head will do its job. As long as that radar signal is constant, it will lock on, and it will track to the target and destroy it. Now these have different ranges. This can be used up to I believe 300 nautical miles away, as it's sort of a mini cruise missile. It does have its own engine. It has wings that sprout once released. It's quite a cool little thing, of which I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment, but you can launch from quite a distance. So yeah, as long as you've got the RBE-2 selected as your seeker of choice, you'll be able to use these weapons. So I'm going after an EWR 55G6, which is a big old early warning radar, and a Fansong and an SA2, which are good old fashioned SAM. So let's get into the sim, and I'll show you how these work. So we're roughly at around about 3,000 feet. Targets are dead ahead. I'm in active pause at the moment so that I can go through the process with you. That's why I'm not moving. as you can see over here on the left hand side, we have our weapons page, and it shows that we're carrying 4 weapons. Our RWR isn't picking up any signal as of yet, as we're not in range of the fan song, but we should be in range of the big old early warning radar over there. All I'm picking up is a ping from the Charles de Gaulle, which is just there. So yeah, anyway, to launch the weapons, going to adjust controls, go down to sensors again, and we're going to want to use the E-link pod, which is I, or whatever you've combined to your joypad. Again, we're going to want to use the target designator, up, down, left, right, and the target lock. And to release the weapons, again, pull in the trigger. To fire the weapon, change weapon D, or whatever you've combined that to, and launch override just in case you need it. For some reason this aircraft seems to enjoy using the launch permission override. Normally that's not the case, but yeah, it's good to have that combined to something if you need it. I don't want to dictate which controls you use, as obviously everyone's different, and whatever's comfortable for you. I'm just pointing out which of the buttons or controls I'm using, just so that you get an idea of how to go through the process. So yeah, I mean, whatever's comfortable for you, but I like to try and keep mine as similar across the board for every aircraft as I can. With low fidelity and high fidelity, once you cross into high fidelity, it's more in depth, and obviously there are more controls and more systems to use, so it can be a little bit more tricky, but it's good to try and keep it as uniform as possible, so that it becomes muscle memory and you're not sort of panicking last minute heading towards a target. So yeah, let's get back out. Okay, so we're going to go on again, press 7 for air to ground. As you can see, I've got scalp or the Storm Shadow selected on the outer pylons. If I press weapon change, it goes to the 88s or harms. You can see we haven't got a target. We probably could just about see the radar there, the early warning radar, but we've got nothing on our HUD. So what we need to do is press I to bring up the E-link pod or Phantasmagoria pod. As you can see, now we've got a couple of diamonds and a box. Now the idea is to put the box over the top of the diamond or rhombus or whatever you want to call it, and just press lock, and sorry about this, there we go, and now we've got a lock. And as you can see, the range bar, I seem to be within range. If I was to go over, use a scalp, I'm in range up to 300 nautical miles. As you can see, we're getting some information as well up on the HUD. That's telling me that it's an SA2, which is correct, although it's not telling me what that one is. So I will fire off the 88s at the SAM site so I don't get shot down. As you can see, I've already got launch authorization. I've not had to push launch authority override. So we'll get out of this. Alright, we're out of active pause, and now I can launch. 1, 2. And there we go, up they go. They're tracking. So we'll go have a look at this. And the fan song is no more. There we go, fan song dead. So that SAM launcher is now dead. So what I'll do now is I'm going to skip ahead so that I'm further out, and I'm going to show you how this scalp works. Okay, so we are heading back towards the target. I'm going to lock up. Make sure that my aircraft is all trimmed out nice so I don't want to crash. And click on Launch Authority Override. And let's get these bad boys launched. 1, 2. Okay, we'll track these ones. As you can see, the wings have sprouted, you've got the engine going, and they're tracking towards a target of which you cannot miss because it's absolutely huge. And you can see it says Storm Shadow at the side there. Not sure why it's called Scalp, but fair enough. Don't hit the trees, don't hit the trees. Ah, good. And there we go. And the 55G6 is no more. So that is using suppression of enemy air defense weapons. I hope that helped, and as always, take care, and I will see you in the next one.